I've also become interested in the history of bankruptcy in the United States. The United States had debtors prison. Many people don't realize that Robert Morris, one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence, was one of the wealthiest individuals in the United States, and he was the financier of the American Revolution. At the end of the American Revolution, he lost his fortune, and he went to debtors prison. George Washington, it's reported, visited him in debtors prison, and they finally got him released. And Congress voted to give him a modest pension for the rest of his life. Isn't that interesting that someone who was responsible for the financial revolution wound up in debtors prison? Well, there's also another incident with debtors prison. It's called Shay's Rebellion up in Massachusetts. And up in Massachusetts, the government was going to put people into jail who, matter of fact, he was going to put veterans of the American Revolution in jail. Now remember, those veterans at Valley Forge weren't being paid. They were real patriots. Well, their fellow patriots heard about this, and they started marching. And they started marching on Springfield. And they started to gather a big crowd, and they were going with them, and everyone had guns. And you have to see that these veterans who took on the greatest power in the world, England, the world superpower at the time, also fought the most professional mercenaries in the world at that time, the German Hessians. And they prevailed. So they had like the elite SEAL team, the Delta Force, marching against the capital of Massachusetts, which at the time was Springfield. And the legislatures were nervous as hell because the people were also in agreement with them. And they were going to go and get the veterans released from debtors prison, come one way or the other. And the state militia was scared silly to fight with them. First, they agreed with them, and then secondly, they knew what was coming. Well, the legislature did a hasty retreat and let them out of debtors prison, and that was very, very important, and one of the reasons why debtors prison has been overturned. Now, it was in 1842 that Connecticut abolished debtors prison. You cannot go to jail because you owe money honestly. Notice I say honestly. If you embezzle money, steal money, rob for money, you go to jail for the crime. And yes, some people can go to jail for a debt today if they owe child support. But usually the court is giving that person many opportunities to comply with the court's order to pay the child support. Many. And very rarely does anyone go to jail because they don't pay their child support, but some have. And then what happens after a while, either they pay something, or if they don't have any money, within a few weeks or so, they just release them. But that's only in the case of child support that you could, but it's also not because you owe the child support per se, but it's because you disobeyed the court's order to pay the money. And the court doesn't believe that you don't have it, that you can't pay anything. So that's why someone could go to jail for that. But most cases don't result in that anyways. And probably what people want too sympathetic with a deadbeat dad who doesn't even try to take care of his responsibilities. Notice I say him, because most of the time it's the guys, unfortunately.